So I was like, yeah, talking about all my ideas, and he was like, why don't you just do it?
Hannah, I want to thank you for taking the time to be here this morning.
Thank you so much for having me, Mr. Lee, today.
Yes. Listen, you were born in, where were you born?
I was born in South Korea.
South Korea?
Yes.
Because you told me before your mother is Korean and your father's Japanese.
Correct, yeah.
And you speak how many languages?
I speak 4 languages.
Okay, what are they?
They're English, Japanese, Spanish, and Korean.
And do you read and write all 4 as well?
Yes, I do.
You do?
Yes.
Okay. Now you told me, because we talked before, and you told me that you actually spent some time in Mexico.
Yes.
You consider that really your first language, Spanish?
Not really. Yeah,
Okay.
my first language is definitely Japanese.
Okay.
That I actually learned, or at home,
Okay.
Japanese, and Korean was my first 2 languages
Right.
that I actually started using. But when I moved to Mexico when I was 5,
Oh, you were 5 years. That's right.
Yeah.
You were 5 years old when you moved to Mexico.
yeah,
So you got a chance to go to Hoikuen.
yes,
And you were Ichinensei when you went to Mexico, or Nisnensei or
I
something?
was end of kindergarten.
End of kindergarten when
End
you
of
went to
kindergarten,
Mexico.
yeah.
Okay. How do you remember that time?
I do. I remember it so much. I used to cry every morning to get to school, and my dad had to drag me into
This
the
is
classroom.
in Mexico.
In Mexico, yes.
Okay. You cried every morning.
Every morning to get to school.
And you remember that?
I remember it because my dad would drive me to school,
Okay.
and I would be in the car just crying because I didn't want to go. I didn't understand anything that anyone was saying for the
Right.
first few months at least.
Right.
I did take English lessons back in Japan, but that wasn't, I learned hello, what am I
Right.
going to do with that? So I used to cry every morning until there was this one Japanese kid in my school already. So I had him as my first friend. So I
Okay.
was able to talk somewhat. And then I think a few months passed and I was speaking English. So
Why did you speak English? What do you mean you were speaking English? You're in Mexico, right?
yes, I was in Mexico, but my school was an international school.
Okay. And they
Yeah.
taught in English?
Yes, they taught in English. So my teachers spoke in the Mexican accented English.
Okay.
So I actually had a Latina English. If
Really?
you know, yeah. Kind of Sofia Vergara English
Okay.
until I was in 4th grade. And then I came to...
But you didn't know that.
No, I didn't.
know.
I
When
thought
did-
this
when
was
did-
the English.
That was the English.
Yeah.
So when did you realize that it wasn't? How old were you, do you think, when you realized that?
When I
maybe-
came to ASIJ,
And that was
actually.
when? What
that
age?
was freshman year, so 9th grade.
First, 9th grade. So up until
14.
then, you thought that's the way that
Yeah.
everyone spoke with their
Yeah.
accent, yes.
Yeah. And when you raise your hand in Mexico, you have this finger and you go, Mis! in Mexico. So I would be like this.
You go like that?
Yeah.
Mis.
Instead of this. When you raise your hand, it's
But
crossed.
you only take it this far. You don't go up like this.
Oh, no. You
You can-
raise it up
Okay,
high.
right.
But ours was a finger. So
You taught that from all the way through. It's just one finger.
yeah, it was just one finger.
Okay. And what
So
do you
it would
say?
be like, Mis!
Which means?
Which means teacher.
Mis.
Mis. Or
Okay.
it's like miss.
Okay.
But I don't know why everyone did Mis. So
So what was it like for you in Mexico? You stayed there for 5 years?
I stayed there for the first 4. I was there for 4 years, and then I
Okay.
came back to Japan. I went to public school actually
Mhm.
here in Japan for 2 years, so 5th grade and 6th grade, and then I went back to Mexico for middle school.
Okay.
So in total, around 7 years.
What'd your father do? What kind of work did your father do?
He's in trade
Okay.
in Toyota, so he does
Right.
trade related stuff. Yeah.
Does your mother speak Spanish?
No,
Your father?
he does.
Okay.
Yeah.
Does your mother only speak Korean? She
Oh,
speaks
no, Japanese.
too.
Yeah,
Yes, she speaks
Japanese and Korean.
What about English?
Kind of.
Okay.
Yeah,
Now I already
she
know.
understands
Right.
ish.
Ish. No, I know because you told me before you're the only child.
Yes.
And you always wanted to have an older brother, even though you are the first child.
Yeah, so it's
You have to be younger.
impossible. Yeah.
Impossible. Well, they could have always adopted someone older than you.
Yeah, they could have,
They could have.
but I don't think I was a handful. I think
And you
I
think
was.
that's why they just had you
yeah.
and said, okay, she'll make up for any other kids we would have had.
Yes.
Is that right? So
Yeah.
you thought you were really a handful. But you did well in school, right?
I did.
Were you good in sports?
Not really. I wasn't a sporty kid. I was tiny. I was the smallest one in class. So when we did like the running, the race, I was always the last one because my itty bitty legs wouldn't catch up to like all the longer legged, taller people.
Right.
So yeah, I was not good at sports. Ball sports, not for me. But I did dance instead.
Because you did ballet for quite a long time,
Yes, yes, I did ballet for around 10 years.
10 years.
And then I was doing tap, jazz, contemporary, lyrical.
Did any of them become your favorites?
I loved jazz. I loved it.
What's
Jazz
the
and
difference when you
lyrical.
do jazz? What's the difference? What do you do?
It's a little more sharp. Ballet is very like soft and flowy,
Okay.
but jazz is like fast paced and like the music is different.
Right. Is it Fred Astaire? Is that more like Fred Astaire? You know who Fred Astaire was?
Fred-
No, you don't know Fred Astaire.
No.
He was a dancer in my, well, actually, when I was growing up, he's older than me. He was older than me.
Mhm.
But he was quite a dancer. And I thought
Ooh.
when I got older, I wanted to be like him because his style, he was so smooth and he always would and then slide.
Oh,
and he just,
yeah,
oh,
yeah,
he
yeah.
was so, I'll show you on YouTube.
Yeah, definitely
Fred
have to check.
Astaire. Fred Astaire, this guy had class. And they had a
Ooh.
couple of women that would dance with him too. They had Gene Audrey.
Mhm.
There's so many guys that were really good. Sammy Davis Jr. was a good dancer. He was a tap dancer.
Mhm.
It's really good. Wow. Who are some of your favorite dancers?
Ooh, Misty Copeland.
Now, I've heard the name.
She's incredible.
What
She's
type
a
of dancer is
ballet
she?
dancer.
Ballet dancer.
But she started when she was 15.
How old is she now?
I don't know actually.
Okay.
Like 30?
Okay.
Beautiful lines. And she's not like one of those skinny, like typical ballet dancers. She
Right.
has muscle, you know, she has strength.
Uh-huh.
Incredible. She's absolutely incredible.
Where is she from?
The States.
Okay, she's in the U.S.
Mhm. So cool.
When did you start liking her?
I came across her on Instagram and then I was obsessed by the way she dances. She dances with so much strength and power.
Is this a recent thing? You just recently?
No,
know her?
not really.
Been known her for a while?
Like middle school, I guess.
Okay.
Yeah.
The thing that I think attracted me to you the most, Hannah, was the fact that you're only 23 years old and you started your own company already.
Yes, I did.
Okay.
Yes,
The name
I
of your company is?
Tapco.
Tapco, yes. I
Yes.
spelled it wrong last time, but I did it right this right. Okay. And what does your company do?
So we provide services to companies, mainly businesses, to find ways to use Japanese traditional culture in their companies.
Mm-hmm.
So through workshops, we do events. We also provide like knickknacks, like Japanese craftsmanship products for their offices. Yeah.
So there's no area that you don't
there's no-
cover if it comes to Japanese crafts.
Exactly. So
Right,
anything
arts.
to do with Japanese traditional. It doesn't have to be craft even. It can be sado, the tea ceremony,
Mm-hmm.
kodo, which is incense
Right.
hearing.
Right.
There's also like Japanese performances, kyogen, no, anything.
Who do you collaborate with people too, don't you?
Yes.
You're,
yes.
you're collaborating. You're going to do something at the end of this month, or is it going to be in August? The
End of August.
End of August.
And-
You have an
and-
event that you're starting.
Yes.
We'll get to that later on. but
Okay.
Let's go through this. So you were in Mexico, then you came back here and you did Japanese school for a while. Then you end up going to international school.
So I went to Japanese school for a little bit and then
Right,
went
and
back to Mexico.
Right.
And then went to like an ASIJ equivalent
Right.
of Mexico called ASFM. So I was there for 2 years. And then I came back to Japan. And then I went to ASIJ.
Okay. How'd you like that?
It was fun. It was interesting, but very fun.
No culture shock? Did you ever have, what was the biggest culture shock for you throughout your experience so far?
Definitely when I came to Japanese school, like Japanese public school, was so different from my international school life. I was there from 5 to like 10. So most of my childhood was in like the Mexican international school, English, everyone's chill. I mean, we're calling teachers me's. Like it's very chill.
Right.
And then I come back to Japan and I go to Japanese school and we have to clean our classrooms, first of all. We have this time set to like clean our classrooms, which is like very interesting. Like I was like, oh, okay, I guess I have to like start cleaning. And we're serving our own food in the lunch.
Right. The cafeteria.
Lunch time.
Right.
Not even in the cafeteria. We eat in the classrooms.
Right, you got your
Yeah.
bento and everything, and you do it. But they brought the food to you?
Yeah, we
The
had like little
carts.
carts with like big
That's
cartons of
right.
rice.
With rice
Yeah,
and the curry and everything
yeah,
else.
exactly. So I think it was like every week we would like switch oben or kyushoku tobang or
Right,
something.
right.
Yeah, and
Was
then
this in Tokyo where?
Oh, this was in Yokohama.
Yokohama. Well,
Yeah.
see, that's not much different.
Yeah. So I used to live in Yokohama. I used to live in Nagoya as well.
Okay.
So I would like go to two different schools
Right.
in Nagoya and Yokohama. But I mean, we had the same kyushoku.
The same thing, right?
Yeah. So I was serving all the other kids rice and like food. So that was.
Didn't you
again,
guys have to? You had to take turns doing that.
Yeah, we had
Right.
to. We had to. But I wasn't used to that. So I didn't know how to even like serve a proper bowl of rice, and I didn't know how much people ate.
Right.
So I was like, how do I do this?
What was it like in your Mexican school?
I had lunch boxes.
Everyone brought their lunch box.
Yes.
But didn't you have a cafeteria as well?
Yes, we did. But
So you could either buy your lunch or bring
exactly,
it. Okay.
exactly. But I had lunch boxes, and we would all eat outside.
Oh, you didn't
during
have a
recess.
cafeteria inside?
I mean, we could eat at the cafeteria, but you could
You had the
choose
choice.
between cafeteria or outside. And I loved eating in the playground area.
Right.
So I would sit on like one of those on top of the slide area.
Oh, you could sit up on the slide?
Yeah, and I ate lunch on top of the slides. Yeah.
You had
So-
some friends with you, of course.
Yeah. Of course,
Okay.
of course. Me and our friends, we would sit in a little circle and eat our little lunch boxes on top of the slide. So we felt like we dominated the playground. But yeah, so that was one of
That
the
was a
biggest.
big difference.
Big
What about the way
difference.
the teachers taught?
I remember that in like international schools, you get to say whatever you want. There isn't really a right or wrong answer. Of course, in math there is, but you're able to state your opinion. And we have debate classes and we have presentation classes, and we even had like spelling bees and
Right.
poem reading competitions, and it was very expressive. But in Japanese schools, I wasn't able to state basically anything. Everything had a right or wrong answer. Even in, I mean, math, of course, but Japanese class, social studies, I never presented. We didn't have a presentation class. Yeah, it was all teachers standing up in the front, teaching us
With the rules
with
were.
the rules. Yes. So
And they never asked anyone's opinion.
not really, no.
Okay.
But I remember this one specific instance where it was English class. And of course, I know English. I was in international school. And the teacher was very Japanese. So she would be teaching, this is a pen, and this is that. And then she was talking about dinosaurs for something. And she was like, so how would you describe dinosaurs? Or how would you, like, tell me about dinosaurs? So of course, I raised my hand. And I say, dinosaurs went extinct. And she goes, what did you say? And I'm like, dinosaurs extinct? And she goes, what's extinct? And I'm like,
You don't
you
know.
don't know extinct?
You didn't say that to her.
No, I did.
You did, okay.
I was
all right.
like, extinct. And she goes, what? And I'm like, oh, so this is the level of Japanese or English. In Japanese schools.
Right. What grade were you in then?
I was in 5th grade.
5th grade.
Yeah. I remember that specific instant. So
And what
well.
happened? What the students do? What they say? Did they
They're
say
like,
or anything?
"Nande?"
They said-
Like,
No,
what?
They didn't
Yeah.
know what you guys were saying anyway.
Exactly.
So what is it extinct?
Exactly.
It's interesting. I remember going to my son's elementary school, and they at least brought in someone that spoke English.
Mm.
And it would be frustrating for the teacher because the students would never ask any questions.
Oh.
And if he asked a question to more than one student, he would get the same answer.
Oh.
Because they copy each other.
Yeah.
They're looking, going, Nani?
Yeah.
They won't look at
Yeah.
the teacher, they'll say Nani, and then
Yeah.
they'll give the answer,
Yeah.
whatever the other one said.
Yeah.
So it's
Yeah.
just, and it was really frustrating, but he loved having my sons there because they weren't afraid to speak
Uh-huh.
English, and they spoke English because they only spoke it to me.
Yeah.
you
Yeah.
know.
So
That's
that was
interesting.
very interesting.
So
Yeah.
how'd you feel when you got to go to the American school? That was
Oh.
was it similar to in Mexico?
Yeah. Very like similar. The culture is very similar. I mean, it's the same American school system.
Right.
I
Oh, because
guess.
you were going to the same.
Yeah.
That's right. You're doing
Yeah.
that in Mexico. You weren't going to a
I would-
local school,
No, it was a very
and that would
like-
have been a little different.
Yeah, definitely. So different. And a lot of my friends who I was like friends, Japanese friends back in Mexico, they all lost their English, Spanish, everyone, except for me because I continued my English education here in Japan.
Right.
But all of my friends back when I was in like 3rd grade, 4th grade, they all lost their English and Spanish because they went to a Japanese public school when they came back to Japan.
So they only speak Japanese?
They only speak Japanese now. Maybe a little English, but like a little bit, like Japanese.
And you maintained it?
And I did.
Your parents wanted you to? They wanted to make sure that you maintained it?
Yeah. I mean, I was there for 7 years. Like, if I lost it, that would have been...
What a waste. That's such a waste.
And I almost lost my Spanish.
How can you almost lose your Spanish?
So when I came back to Japan for 2 years, never used a single Spanish.
Right.
So when I went back for middle school, I forgot how to say everything, basically.
But you picked it up quick, I bet you.
Yeah, I did. Once I started using it, it like came back to me. But for the first few months, I was like, oh, no.
It was really hard.
Yeah.
Academically, tell me the areas that you really liked when you came back and you got here at ASIJ.
Ooh.
Areas that you excelled in, that you said, this is good. And usually it depends upon the teacher. It's not so much a subject, because you could be taking physics. If the teacher's exciting and they know how to come across the way that you like, and they know you, they can make it exciting. Because everyone I've talked to that like any field, it's because of who taught it to them. Yeah,
I mean, one of the classes I loved was biomed, because the teacher, she actually used to be an ER nurse. So she told us all the crazy ER stories in the States, and I loved that. I loved hearing about how the anatomy works. So once you have like something stuck in you, what do you have to do? And she has real life experience about that. So she would tell us her real life experiences being an ER nurse and seeing all these crazy stuff. And somehow...
Your class was co-ed?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. So that was very fun.
What are some of the things that you remember that she told you that you thought, wow. Did you ever think about getting involved in that field? Oh,
I loved Grey's Anatomy. So that's why I partially took biomed, because I loved seeing all the crazy like incidents that you see, like medical crazy stuff. So yeah, I took that class, and she was telling me about a man who came in with like a pole stuck through, like in and out.
Right.
And you're not supposed to like pull it out, or else like the blood. Exactly. So then I think she like cut it. It was kind of similar to an episode on Grey's Anatomy. And I was like, oh, I didn't know this actually did happen.
Oh, you thought it was, some of it was just, you know.
Just made up for TV show.
Right, made up, right. You thought it was fiction, yeah.
Yeah, but like people actually come in with a pole impaled through.
When I went to China, I had a medical equipment business, so I had to go to China quite often. And they have, when I went in Guangzhou, they had the hospitals, people getting IVs outside, sitting on a bench, and the IV would be above, and they'd be getting it outside. And they had pictures, the pictures that show of before and after. And they'd have a guy with a hatchet in his head, and they would show it after they'd taken it out and fixed him. A person that had something through his eye, they'd show it afterwards. I mean, serious.
Wow.
This is in China, and I said, this is some really hardcore stuff. And they would have the picture before and after, and the people outside, and then they had inside areas too. But I think because of the amount of people, they had to do a lot of it outside. And people sit out there like they're eating their lunch and stuff and having an IV outside and flies around. Not that bad, but still.
Wow.
Not as sanitary as you grow up when you grow up here and in the West. It's a little different.
Yeah.
Yeah. So interesting. Okay, so when you went through ASIJ, what did you start focusing on when you got up when you became a junior and a senior?
I thought I wanted to be an actress. So I didn't really like focus much on academics per se. Like I did do my APs, and I didn't know what I wanted to do, but I just knew that I liked performing. I was that kid that would always like raise their hand in like performances to try to get up on stage. So, and I loved the center, like dance performances. I had to be in the middle, the center stage. So that was the kind of kid I was. So I always thought I wanted to like perform. So I didn't really focus much on academics. I took APs, but I was like, I don't know. And then once college decision came along, I thought I wanted to go to like a theater school. my parents sat me down and was like, do you really want to study theater? And I didn't really like studying. I wasn't bad, but I didn't necessarily like it. So I was like, interesting. She's like, you have to read a lot. There's a lot of things you have to read. You have to read scripts. And I'm like, I don't know. I don't know if that's what I really want to do. So I ended up deciding to stay in Japan because what's the point? I've always lived abroad. So I wanted to stay in Japan and find out what I actually wanted to do. And then I could pursue acting really without going to school for it.
Right.
So
how can you pursue it without going to school?
Oh, you can just go join an agency and do it like
okay, I see. Okay. Right.
Little bit of class outside of school, but it doesn't have to be your major. And I was like, that's true. So I ended up staying in Japan, trying to figure out what I wanted to be and do. And I liked it. I liked Waseda.
Oh, so you actually went to an acting course or something
outside
of school?
Outside of
while
school.
While you were at Waseda?
Exactly.
Okay, because you did finish through Waseda. You got
I got
degree
in liberal studies because that's my major,
right.
and then minor in performing arts.
Right.
And then, my degree is liberal studies major, concentration in global something international. Right. Something, and then my minor.
But you got your degree.
Exactly.
I got my degree. I did my 4 years.
Exactly. Right. I got it.
And Waseda is one of the top schools here.
Yeah. So.
It's no joke. Yeah.
Honestly, getting in is the hard part.
That's
Waseda.
right. That's in Japanese schools. Even Keio, Todai, it's getting in that's hard.
Yeah.
But once you're in,
it's not.
It's almost, they say that 1% or 2% failure rate.
Yeah.
Because people bring you along. They make sure you know.
Yeah.
And they'll pull you.
And unless you don't go to class,
that's the only reason.
Impossible.
It's impossible to fail.
Exactly. It really is impossible to fail. And
what would you do most of the time? Over that 4 years, would you think you were doing that?
Well, I was taking a lot of different classes.
Like what? What are different classes?
I did business classes.
Okay. You didn't learn anything there?
Not really. It was so obvious. Like we would get a textbook, and for example, if it's like micro, macro, I would just solve questions.
Okay.
But that's not necessarily learning because I didn't know, well, how am I going to apply this in day-to-day life? I'm not.
Yeah.
So.
But that's for a lot of things in school.
Yeah.
You're solving problems and making answers, stuff that you may never ever use.
Yeah. So I don't know. Yes, I did take micro, but do I remember it? Not really.
So where were you learning then? Where do you think you were getting your learning then?
I think
during that time you learned something. What do you think you were learning?
Social life, how
social
to,
life,
how to communicate with teachers and professors, making new friends, and figuring out what I really wanted to do and what my likes and dislikes were. For example, I learned that I really do not like doing calculus. I'm not a numbers person. Statistics, I really did not like that either. So anything that numbers were attached to it. Was it that
or the teacher that you had that was teaching you?
I think it was both.
Okay.
Where the professors weren't really teaching. Japanese professors are notorious for not really teaching. And there's a set syllabus, and they just go over the syllabus without anything. So there's no, communication with the students, nothing. They're just up and going through slides and just talking for an hour and a half. Of course I'm going to fall asleep.
And people did?
Yes.
And they don't call you on it?
No, they don't care. So.
Then what about the grade when you get your grades? Because based upon your attendance?
Exams, attendance, essays. I had this one class. I took a dinosaurs class because this was during COVID. I wanted to fill up my credits.
You were in school during COVID anyway.
Oh, yeah.
What year was your... that's why you're saying this, see? Because you didn't get a lot of time actually with the teachers, did you?
Yeah. A year and a half of no teacher time, essentially.
And that's sad. It affected so many people in a negative way.
Yeah.
And I think that's what I'm hearing right now because I I do believe the schools, almost any schools, they do the best they possibly can. All
Yeah.
of us are a victim of how we've been trained.
Hmm.
However, COVID threw a wrench in everything.
Yeah.
You're doing it online, you're looking at people, we're worried about life or death. Is this going
Yeah.
to get any worse? Or, it was just
Yeah.
it was a hard time to live through.
Yeah. And I think, yeah, I guess it really is COVID. And that's why I feel like I didn't necessarily learn anything. Because if I can get the grades, yeah, I can figure out the rest of it on my own because I have the name, right? It's all
Right.
the
Waseda.
yeah, the reputation, the name.
Right.
So if I can graduate, I will find something. I would find potentially a good workforce or workplace. And yeah, so I just took classes. Did I learn? Not really. And I really realized that you can't really learn through a screen. Like you have to be there to experience the environment, learn together with people, and actually actively listen, not through a screen. So that is one thing.
That?
Yeah. Or for me at least.
Okay.
I can't do online school ever again. Like that is not
that was
something.
really hard for you?
Yeah. I can't pay attention. I don't have the attention span.
What were you doing then? Were you doing like Cartman in South Park and putting a picture of you on the screen to make it look like you were really there?
No, I actually was there. I mean, I could have, but yeah, no, I was actually there. But because I was stuck in Mexico, right? So the time difference was insane. I started school from 4 p.m. or something, which is not bad. But then by the time it hits 10, I get sleepy and I'm just staring.
What do you mean you were in Mexico? I'm talking about Waseda now.
Yeah, but during COVID, I was stuck in Mexico.
Oh, that's right, because you went back to visit your parents.
Yeah.
And you you've had a hard time. That's why you didn't learn anything. You were there for a year.
I was there for 6 months and then I came back.
6 months, okay.
Yeah. But then I was in a dorm and I mean, I'm in this tiny little shoebox space trying to take a class.
One person to a dorm? One person to a room?
One person to a room, but then there's 4 like rooms.
Right.
And then 1 living room.
Okay.
So, and the apartment or the dorm room was tiny.
I know.
It's funny now. You literally had like a tiny little hallway.
Right.
And yeah, well, anyways. So, I mean, I couldn't really focus. We go to cafes sometimes, but like, again, like I'm distracted. So like no focus whatsoever. And I'll just write essays, and that was about it.
What put this fire in you to make you want to start a company?
So it was a very great opportunity that came to me, actually. And so I did an internship when I came back to Japan. And it was a very fun internship. It was at a EC company, a Singaporean EC company. So it's a very international environment. And I did a lot of things like content creation. And I loved creative things inside a company. So I was doing all these like fun creatives and creating cute decks and whatever.
Now EC stands for?
E-commerce.
E-commerce, okay.
Yes, e-commerce. So I was doing that. I was there for a year and I had a great time with like the team members and all my senpais were very, very nice and it was so much fun. And then I was like, okay, I'm not learning anything now. So time for me to like find something. So I quit the company and my friend at the same time from the dorm, he texted me saying, hi, I'm working at like a venture capital and we're looking for interns. Are you interested? And I was like, yeah. So then I originally joined as an intern for my current advisor's company. And I was there, but I love to talk. So I was like, yeah, talking about all my ideas. And he was like, why don't you just do it? And then he became the initial like investor into the company.
So you're talking about what you're doing now.
Exactly.
Okay, right.
About the ideas that I have, and I wanted to do this, that, and that, and I was like, my eyes were sparkling.
Had you already thought of a name?
No, not yet.
Okay.
So I was like, I wanted to do this and this and this, and I was telling all these ideas, fun ideas, and yeah, he became my initial investor. And he was like, do it, get it.
And here's some money you can use to start.
Exactly.
And then how'd you go about doing it? Did he help you set up the company as well too?
Yeah.
So he knew the process.
Exactly. He was very hands-on with the entire process. And so the company, it's called Tapco, initially started because I wanted to use NFC tags, which is found in credit cards, like Suica Passmo touch cards, and use that to exchange your personal information, show who you really are. And so we had all the hardware, we made a platform, and we have like little stickers, we have cards, we have metal cards, and it was very fun. So we started with that, but it turns out I think we were a little bit too early in the current environment. And even if I go about, currently I don't have a paper Mishi, but I have my tapco card, of course. Right. But it has this like hurdle of people not knowing what to do. Like we're not still used to like using phones and tapping. We can tap a card into something else, but not our phone. Right. So that was a big hurdle. I was still young and naive, so I didn't really know how to do sales either. So I was just trying to like talk to people. I got to talk to people, but I didn't know how to follow up. So yeah, there was a lot of like different hurdles that came in. I did a lot of accelerators. I joined Antler. I was in like a Jetro and plug and play program as well. So that kind of like pushed me to like get into this startup like hustle culture. But I think I was still I didn't know what I was doing. And then we got to this point where we had to update the platform, but we kind of ran out of runway. So then I had to figure out something to like keep the company going, which then I came up with the idea of Oto, which is the traditional craftspeople, and creating a new ecosystem surrounding that. While I was writing my thesis for graduating. So yeah, it's been a crazy, I started 2022, so
4 years.
Yeah,
I mean, 2 years. 2 years.
2 years.
What was your thesis on?
My thesis was on how the entertainment industry would change with AI.
Okay.
With the emergence of AI. So I joined a seminar in Japanese universities. There's this thing called seminars. And seminars, you're together with this one professor for 2 years, and you focus on one specific topic that the professor is researching on. So my professor was doing anything to do with creative enterprises. So he loved architecture, chair design, product design, entertainment industry. And I joined the agency before I joined this seminar. So I thought, okay, entertainment industry, yes. So then I joined this seminar. He talks about Japanese traditional craft as well. And then, yeah, it was all coming together for me at that moment. And I had a friend in that seminar that comes from a 300-year-old gold leaf company. And she really inspired me to like get into this world of Japanese traditional crafts and just the world of Japanese traditional, because growing up abroad and growing up kind of as a third culture kid, I was kind of pushing away the Japanese side, like, oh, whatever, Japanese is Japan, whatever. Like,
Where were you going? What direction do you think you were going then?
I wanted to be more in like the Western world.
Okay, more American.
Yeah, more American. So yeah, like she really pulled me back and was like, hey, look, this is what we have.
Yes, talk to me.
Yeah.
3,000 years worth of it.
Exactly. So, and she was starting her own company. She upcycles sail yachts and uses kin-shi, which is gold thread, and which normally used in like nishijin ori in kimonos. And there's only one use for this gold thread right now. So she uses sailcloths and this gold thread, and she creates bags out of it.
That is so durable that they last a lifetime. Oh,
yeah,
boy,
yeah. And her company is called Sato, if anyone's
Sato.
interested.
There you go.
Yeah. So yeah, she was creating this, and I was like, that's so cool. Like, she's finding new uses for materials that are gonna get lost.
Is she around your age?
Yeah, she's half a year older. A year older. Yeah.
Wow.
So she graduated a little bit early, before I did, and then yeah, we're still friends. You sometimes talk, and it's really great. But yeah, so she really inspired me to get into this world, and that's how I pivoted a little bit. Of course, we're gonna still use our tapco on our events, and when we host events, I think it would be a great way to learn more about what we're actually doing.
Right.
So
How'd you come up with the name? Tapco.
tapco, tap and connect.
Connect.
Yeah.
Got you.
Yeah.
And
Yeah. So yeah, it all came together, and I
nice.
feel like right now I'm at the point where like I can see what the next step is.
Right.
And
So what's your event going to be like? Tell us about that you're going to have at the end of August.
yes, so we're gonna have an event on August 30th called Asaki Yume Mishi, Never
Right.
Just a Dream. And then it's inspired by the Hei-an era of Japan, from 900, and I'm really bad with numbers again, 900 to the 1300s. That's the era of Hei-an era. And it's the aristocrats really set the stage, set the foundation of how our current Japanese traditional culture itself is. So they built hiragana during this era. They had this beautiful kimonos. I think it was the start of sado, and so many like Japanese traditional cultural stuff came out of this Heian era. So the concept is taking us back into this Heian era and experiencing Japanese traditional culture in a very like in that moment. At Hotel Gajoen, we're gonna have dinner, Japanese dinners. We're gonna bring Japanese traditional instrument players, and then we're bringing live painter of suibokuga, which is Japanese ink painting, and she's gonna paint a piece right in front of us, along with Japanese.
While you're eating?
Yeah, while we're eating.
Okay.
So it's gonna be a full performance. We're gonna have Japanese traditional craftspeople come and bringing their beautiful pieces, and yeah, free drinks or free flow drinks.
Is this going to be a seated event?
It's gonna be seated.
So how many
Dinner
people?
event.
How many people are you expecting?
Around 80.
80 people.
Yes.
Okay. Oh,
We're aiming towards around 80. So yeah,
that's beautiful.
we're doing these events to find touch points with Japanese traditional craftspeople and crafts with people we think should know about them.
Mm-hmm.
And we're creating these exposure opportunities for all these like beautiful craftspeople and traditional instrument players and even like suibokuga artists, where we have to, right now in this current system, we have to look for it. But what if I create a fun space where people can all merge and
Find out about it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that is the aim for our events.
It's going to be in English and in Japanese?
Yes, it's going to be a bilingual event.
Okay, bilingual. Oh, that's fantastic.
Yeah.
And the music's going to be provided by the performers.
Exactly.
Oh, that is beautiful.
Exactly.
How long is your event going to last?
It's going to be around 3 hours.
3 hours?
Yes. 6:30 to 6:30 to 10. So I
Okay.
mean, you can come and go, of course, but we're going to have raffles.
Right.
But it's going to be not just a normal raffle. It's going to come from Bozumekuri, which is a traditional Japanese card game
Okay.
that they used to play back in the Heian era. So
Right.
we're going to play raffle with Bozumekuri. So that's a unique twist. So we're going to
Can you tell us what type of prizes people can win?
we're going to be having a little potential trip to somewhere.
Okay. It's still in the making because you have
It's
some
still
time.
yes,
Okay.
it's still in the making, but a potential trip. We're gonna have little gift prizes with drinks involved, and more coming. So
Well, that's beautiful.
yeah,
That's
it's still in the making, but yeah.
Now, how do people, if they want to contact you, how would they go about contacting you? Because they don't have the Tapco card right now. to do it
Yeah,
with.
I know.
So-
And maybe a QR code right here.
That could work, that could
I like it.
Right.
But you can contact me on LinkedIn,
Right.
of course, Hana Himura. Please feel free to email me, hana@tapco.co.jp, or I guess LinkedIn. I'm on there quite a lot. So yeah, LinkedIn
That's
would be
become
the
the place
easiest.
to be, really,
Yeah.
for business now.
Yeah.
It's trumping everything, I think.
Yeah.
Especially here in Japan.
Yeah, I met you through LinkedIn
That's right.
as well.
I'm finding that. And I didn't use LinkedIn for a long time. I was just on Facebook because that's my generation, even though it started for college students, because I remember my sons got involved. And then I did Facebook, and then I found I was meeting people that I hadn't seen in a long time.
Mm-hmm.
And it's just hard to change. And then I finally changed to LinkedIn, and I said, wow, this is where all the business is done.
Yeah.
Everybody's here doing everything.
Yeah.
And now it's Instagram, and really on Instagram, you told me, it's, what is it?
Reels?
Reels.
Yes.
When you change it to Reels, that's the one thing that's going. But there's still
Yeah.
Instagram. It's just called Reels.
Yeah, I mean, it is, yeah,
Mm.
it's just
It's just
the
right.
short form video is called
Right.
Reels. But
Right.
Instagram is more so about like the reach
Right.
rather than like actually creating personal, I mean,
Mhm.
yes, personal connections.
But I've heard
too.
that linked with Facebook really blows up
Yeah,
because Facebook can bring just as much or even more.
hmm
But you have to have it here first.
yes.
It doesn't work the other way around, having it on Facebook
No.
and thinking it's going to happen and it won't.
No. Yeah,
People want to see the short form first, then they'll come to your Facebook.
exactly.
That's interesting.
Yeah.
Before I end the podcast, Hana, I always like to ask this question.
Mhm.
If you could go back in time and meet the younger Hana
Mhm.
and give her advice based upon what you know now, how old would she be and what advice would you give her?
She'll be 10 right when I move back to Japan. And I'll tell her to always keep that little like Latina energy, little Latina fire in you because it will take you quite far. It's all about the personality. And yeah.
That sounds great. Thank you so much.
Thank
and
you so
all
much.
the best
Misty.
on your event that you're going to have
Thank
on the
you so
30th.
much.
And if I can, I'll try to make it as well.
Thank you. That means
Right.
a lot. Thank you so much.
I want to thank all of you for watching or listening to this podcast. And never forget, it's all on loan, so continue to reach for the stars.
Because you're too blessed to be stressed.